Many of you may have been seeing this phone on the timeline lately, not just from myself but from a sea of reviewers. Well, it needs not much introduction at this point, but still, this is the POCO F8 Ultra. I'm guessing you already know what's beautifully odd about it. No, it's not the camera island, which some might say mimics a certain recent smartphone. It's rather the design, the texture, and the color. The POCO F8 Ultra was released globally in 2 colors. Lucky enough, I got the most rare and good looking out of both. Don't mistake me though, black is still my favorite color. But who could possibly resist this denim beauty? So this is the POCO F8 Ultra in denim blue. I uploaded the first impression video where I talked about this design. So what POCO had in mind here was to create something that mimics a jean texture, which is unpopularly called denim. And I think we can agree they succeeded. Now this isn't exactly the same denim material as typical blue jeans, but it's a bunch of materials combined together to make it appear this way. Technically, they called it 3rd generation nanotech material made from natural silicone oil, but you get the idea. They all did that and it came out beautifully. Hands down, this currently stands as the most beautiful finish I've personally seen and touched on a smartphone. I don't know, there might be cooler stuff out there, but I said personally, so until I experience something better, this remains on the throne. If you also look at every corner, edge, and section, the design flows harmoniously. There are 0 flaws, no odd arrangements or misalignments with this material. Let's talk about the display. It's a 6.9-inch big rounded AMOLED panel. I think this is the most rounded Android display I've had my hands on, and I can tell the difference. It's one of those phones you can just tuck into your palms and remain glued for hours of screen time without feeling you have to recover from something like palm fatigue, which is normally common for the rectangular shaped ones. POCO calls the bezels here ultra slim, and I agree. The screen real estate is so massive that there's just a tiny leftover, and that's what's referred to as the bezels. You can see how extremely slim they are, which means you have the advantage of nearly the whole screen when viewing content and interacting with the phone. POCO calls this display Hyper RGB, making up 68 billion colors with HDR10+, Dolby Vision, and 120Hz of high refresh rate. Marketing concepts aside, the display looks very good and speaks true to flagship quality. Colors appear as they should, and you can really feel the life in every palette. When outdoors, the display provides up to 3500 nits of peak brightness. You may struggle slightly with interfering shadows, but the visibility still remains uninterrupted. Aside from the design, the next thing is what I would call their most ambitious move for the F8 Ultra. It's the collaboration with Bose for the sound profile, and that resulted in a dedicated subwoofer next to the cameras at the top rear. That's aside from the already existing top and bottom speakers on the device, which means POCO really created room for a lot of expectations in the audio department. It was one of the first things I tested after getting the device because I needed to see what the hype was all about. I can't convince you or give you my judgment definitively, but I'd say the sound does outperform regular phones by some margin. Not by a far shot, but considering the subwoofer, which was intended to serve as a center of attention and an additional speaker, the competition is already unfair for other phones depending on just 2 speakers. You can share your thoughts about it.
Maybe it's the way you play. I just want you. Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive.
Now for the performance, it's no surprise that the phone is powered by Qualcomm's latest Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, the same chip found in almost every premium flagship phone released in the last quarter of 2025 and most of 2026. The 8 Elite Gen 5 is basically the peak in performance for what to expect from mobile devices in today's world. And what that means, like my guy Floss would say, flagship specs bro, flagship specs. But flagship doesn't always mean perfect. There will always be noticeable trade-offs, with the most common being heating and slight overheating. The F8 Ultra works fine for every possible activity. The fluidity is testament to its flagship architecture, and everything just looks and runs smooth. It will take some extended hours of use to make the device heat up for any usage beyond gaming. When gaming, temperature is stable for most segments, but of course heating is always inevitable when you continue to engage for long periods. Gaming remains spot on for visuals, and the touch response is just fine. Paired with the speaker upgrade, you barely miss out on anything during sessions. Out of the box, the F8 Ultra runs HyperOS 3.0 based on Android 16. You get the subsequent updates immediately that pushes some minor refinements on the already existing HyperOS 3. I really don't need to go in depth since I already reviewed HyperOS 3 weeks ago. Since POCO shares the same ecosystem as Xiaomi devices, you're expected to get the same experience. HyperOS 3 is basically the successor to the previous HyperOS 2. It came with fun factors and surprises, most of which I like. The Hyper Land, of course, makes its way as the biggest implementation of the update this year. It's basically this mini mini capsule that you can operate and access from the upper notch of the display. It monitors several system actions and live activities, and even though some part of me expected this to be more gimmicky than useful, it's actually been very useful. Like I would just now and then choose to turn off the flashlight from the hyper island instead of dragging down the notification bar to do the action. I would also rather move between my playlists most times on the hyper island instead of going directly to Spotify to do the same. Honestly, it's not the biggest breakthrough, but it's been very fun and something you can get used to. I also trust Xiaomi to improve functionality beyond the current basics in foreseeable future updates. Functions aside, the UI is very seamless. Apps open snappily, the open and exit animations are catchy and modern. There are no holdbacks when it comes to navigation, and you easily find yourself moving across everything smoothly. The ultrasonic fingerprint reader on the F8 Ultra is something I believe is one of the best currently in the market. It unlocks so fast you might get scared sometimes. Pun intended, but it's a really nice touch and the placement on the screen is very natural to meet the fingers. The phone comes with a 6500 mAh battery. It's rated to charge at 100W wired and 50W wireless. 6500 mAh isn't a relatively common battery capacity you find on just any phone currently. Give it a year or two and I believe it will become saturated in the market, but currently this right here is a flex found exclusively on recent Chinese smartphones. It's safe to say right now that 6000 mAh is the new 5000 mAh. In my use case, the battery is solid enough to last a day. Again, always depending on what you choose to do with it, meaning it could last even more or even less based on your usage. Like if this is the phone you choose to give to your mom or someone who's not really into the nitty-gritty of a phone, rest assured this will last through days before needing a charge. But for hardcore users like most of us, it stays strong but not strong enough to extend for days. Battery will always die eventually, and that's why the charging is what always brings me joy in Chinese smartphones. With 100W, the phone is capable of boosting to full capacity in a matter of 60 to 70 minutes. So that's basically benefiting from capable battery and capable charging. In the past, POCO never really prided itself on cameras, but it's safe to say they've been revisiting the drawing board over the last 2 years, significantly starting with the F7 Ultra. The cameras on the F8 Ultra are currently the best yet from POCO. It features a triple 50MP rear setup with their first ever periscope telephoto lens on a device. I'm not the guy to go all in on creative photography, but taking basic photos like normal people would, the results are sure to come out excellent in fair conditions. Subjects appear well defined with good lighting and you can feel the textures in the images. I like to take advantage of the telephoto a lot, so you can see with these unedited images the colors pop, properly processed with a good cinematic glow for portrait subjects. Taking macro shots on this phone produces some of the best killer results I've captured on a smartphone. The color scheme of both subject and bokeh appears evidently in the photographs. The ultra-wide camera doesn't disappoint here like we're used to on several phones with an 8MP sensor. Since it's a 50MP focal length on the F8 Ultra, there's room for more detail and a dynamic field of view. Low light shots are a mix, sometimes they come out nice, sometimes they don't. If you make the mistake of moving between shots, images come out slightly blurred and out of focus. Still, it can be pretty decent when you know what you're doing. Video recording for the main camera caps at 4K 60fps, although many would expect up to 120fps for this category. We didn't get that, so we have to stick with this. Still, the phone captures the scene the way you see it, no tuning, enhancement or obvious quality drop. You're getting something that's usable and serves its common purpose. So for me, I've seen no issues here so far. The POCO F8 Ultra is honestly a very good looking smartphone, explicitly on the outside and on the inside as well. You get the device that catches attention and you get hardware that fulfills your expectations. It's really almost everything you could ask of a smartphone in 2026. No device has it all, so if you're looking for something that slays and aces, I would say you just found one. Or I found one, for myself of course. See you on the next one.